to check whether they will really participate in this course or not. So it's important that you leave your contact, but at the same time, you be prepared that you can be contacted by World Bank directly or any agents that World Bank can contact to do assessment whether you participate or not in this course. So I would like to request to everybody that you do so. And I would like to invite everybody to take the opportunity to enjoy this course, to go deep into this course. That everybody to get really involved in this course, so that from the knowledge that we get here to contribute to agriculture transformation in Africa. With this, I would like to thank everybody and take opportunity, enjoy this course, make use, communicate with facilitators so that you get all the advantage, you get all the knowledge that the facilitator they're going to provide in this course. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Rogerio, for the welcome remarks. I would like to inform the participants that we are going to share the link for registration. I can see participants are putting their contacts on chat, but let me echo again to say that we are going to share the registration link where you will be requested to put your contact details as been posted by Professor Rogerio. And yes, I can see some of you are asking about the issue of the certificates. Yes, you'll be given a certificate at the end of the training. Make sure that you attend the training all the days so that we'll be able to award you the certificate at the end of the training. Please note that this training is also being streamed live at YouTube. You go to Ruforum Network, you will be able to see us live. And also you can, if you have missed some parts of the training, you can always go back to the YouTube link and then be able to revisit the training. So ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome our facilitators for today for this training. May I call upon Professor Tenywa? Professor Tenywa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nyararo. This is Paul Nampala, and we are using one gadget, and we've just put a screenshot, and hope it is okay and you all can see. Please confirm that you can see the slides.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, I am here with Professor Tenywa. We tried to do a video, but we cannot show you the video. So please, we are not robots. We are here, and we would have loved to wave to you all, but please take it that we are waving to you. And very pleased to be with you. At the last count, as I look at the participants list, I can see that it's quite an engaged meeting. Thanks for the remarks. Thanks to the partners of forum and the forum for this important capacity building engagement that we think it is it's building capacity in Africa. Friends, we are talking about proposal development. It's a workshop, and we very much look forward to engaging with you. And today is a very interesting day as we were structuring out the materials. First of all, we think that this workshop is intended to support students to develop quality thesis research proposals. And really the key thing is to give you skills in thesis research proposal development. And we think that this is very, very important, because if you don't develop a good proposal, then you will have challenges along the way. One, you may never complete on time. Two, your research will be a moving target, so you will keep moving here and there. Three, you may never publish your work. Sometimes you will graduate, you've satisfied the department standards and the schools where you are studying, but then there may be a challenge that your work is not to the standard of scientific scholarship, and so it may never get published. So you just have a thesis on the shelves, and then you don't have a journal article out of it, and so on and so forth, which is not good for scholarship. So we think that when you start on a good foundation and you develop a quality thesis research proposal, then that gives you the launching pad for developing the scientist in you and the scientific leader in you, because when you publish, then you will thrive. So this really, in a nutshell, is our objective. And day 1, 7th August 2023, we are looking at an overview of the proposal development process. We decided to make it very simple and hands-on at some point. And the reason we're doing this is that we would like to have everybody on board, because we do understand that you are at different levels of your journey in master's and PhD. You are at different levels in terms of even disciplines, in terms of years. And so we thought that we would start with an overview that puts everybody on board. And so we're going to present a few things that are going to bring everyone on board. And at such a point, when you realize that they are very obvious to you, please be accommodative, because your friend or your colleague is probably gaining that which you know. And the beauty with virtual engagement is that there is a chat room. So feel free to type in the chat. Feel free to pose questions as and when we go along. And even when questions are posed, if a participant has an answer or a response, let us encourage discussion and engagement. Dr. Nyararo Kara, we appreciate that there is a registration going around because as facilitators, we were requested to do a report, and sometimes a report requires a list of participants. And when I look at the participants, it's quite a huge number. And I was wondering, no virtual engagements. When you have physical engagements, there's a list going around. So in this case, we would like to encourage participants to actually register so we can have a complete report for participation. And just as the World Bank rep indicated, this registration is very important because it's not just for the sake of registering, but it's actually data that is going to be used. You can be contacted for the next opportunity, but then there is also verification. The World Bank would like to verify that you actually attended. Friends, before we write a proposal, a thesis research proposal, or any other proposal at it, but we are now focusing on thesis research proposals. Before you write a thesis research proposal, there are some prerequisites, the things that you must have, or the things that you need to be with before you move forward. Now, the author should be fully motivated to do research. Now, this is very, very important, especially in graduate training. And it's one of the assessments that referees are asked. I have been referring to so many students, many universities, but it's like the #1 prerequisite. The university is asking, how many years have you known so and so? Even on call here, I think I can see, or I know a number of people that I did recommend, and probably they are aware that I recommended them. But motivation is a big assessment because the author of how to get a PhD actually discusses this in a chapter. It is only a motivated individual that will take the journey, because the journey of scholarship is sometimes very daunting. But a motivated individual will stick in there and rise above the gathering storm and make sure that everything happens and they take it to completion. So the motivation to do research is a prerequisite for a graduate scholar. Otherwise, if you are not motivated, then there are these other postgraduate trainings that take on that are not thesis-based, but take on coursework-based, which are not very common in our universities in Africa. I think one of the leading universities that has course-based PhDs and course-based masters is the University of Reading in the UK. But most universities in Africa is research-based. And on top of that, you also do coursework. But the research takes the biggest component and gravity of work. Now, the author should be fully captivated with technical and theoretical knowledge about the subject. You know, I attend students' defense, and you can really see a biologist presenting. You can really see a pathologist presenting, and you see that they are consumed by their work, the virus, the bacteria, this bacteria. And sometimes when they are talking about that bacteria, Xanthomonas, it's like there are no other bacteria, but that is the bacteria. You know, I did work for my master's and PhD on cowpea, and in my cohort, we simply used to say the crop. It's like there was no other crop, you know, a Mendelian crop, and so you would see we are really consumed with cowpea and cowpea research. So the author, in this case, the student, that is the candidate for this research proposal, you need to see them, and sometimes these are simple things, but they impact on your supervisors. I mean, when your supervisor does not see you motivated, does not see you consumed with the research, then they pay more attention to the people that are inspiring them with these things. Right? They are motivated, they have the technical and theoretical knowledge, they have bothered to do a lot of reading, they are always quoting and giving guidance and what. You know, you attend a defense for a proposal, and the student is saying, according to this book, and Gomez, page 501, they are even referring to the exact page where this concept is. Now, this is really very, very encouraging, but it is an expectation on the part of scholars. It is an expectation on the part of students. Now, students do coursework, and this coursework, in most cases, is to enable them envision the research that they are going to do. That is why in most universities, normally, master's, PhD, the first 1 year is reserved for coursework. So a student does agronomy, do entomology, do...
Dr. Nampala, your voice is breaking a bit, so maybe if you could move a bit closer to your mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the author, in this case, the students, should be able to scan the environment to identify a research problem and the most selling scientific language to use in writing the requisite research document. And we are only laying a platform for the foundation. We are going to get back to each of these that we are listing. Because for you to scan the environment, this means you must do a lot of literature search. And this means that the problem you're addressing should be a real problem, not a perceived problem, not something cooked up from elsewhere, but it should be a real problem based on the literature and the evidence that you propose. There must be sufficient time to be devoted to the research process, starting from conceiving the idea through the research conception, implementation, data analysis, and report production. In the World Bank, I think they have been promoting a movement from one country to another. And this is one of the opportunities that students that have moved from Kenya to Uganda, when you are a Kenyan and you're in Uganda, then really all your attention is on your research and data because you want to go back home. Let alone if you cross the oceans and go to these very cold places, you know, you really want to finish as soon as possible and return back home. So you can see, and some people have said that has promoted more of the completion rates, that people that study from overseas complete faster than those that are within their study. So you need to have sufficient time for your work. So even as you sign on to be a graduate student, master's, PhD, you need to release yourself from work engagements and ensure that you have this time to complete your studies. And this is a problem because sometimes when we don't create this time, then we become students forever. There are people that have done their PhD for 7 years, 10 years, and it's because they are engaged, so they become career students. And every time they're introducing themselves, they say, I'm a PhD fellow in Makerere University. I'm a PhD fellow at Addis Ababa University. You meet them after 4 years, PhD fellow. Now, you need sufficient time. As a graduate student, it is expected of you to have the capacity to search and read candidly, and be able to understand that which you are reading, relevant literature on the subject, and every other surroundings of that subject. If you're doing cowpea, we expect you to know what is happening with soybean, what is happening with the beans, what is happening with that family of legumes. And so you are able, you have it on the finger of your tips. And with this, it is also expected that you command the necessary basic statistics to be able to design your study, analyze the data using the most appropriate tools. Because one of the challenges is that sometimes we are using another analytical tool, yet we should have used another. Or we are using one analytical method, yet we should have used another. And once that happens, then we are not doing ourselves a good service. So these are prerequisites, the things that you need to know before you do the work. Now, of course, when we talk this word, but research has a definition, and it is that process of searching for answers. You're searching for answers to a problem, and that's why we are saying that this problem must be real. It must be something in the community. It must be a concern not to just you as an individual, but a concern to the community. And so once you move towards finding solutions, then these solutions will have an impact. And you will now be searching and presenting something that is going to be useful. Now, the problem could be existing somewhere, or it could be imagined for the future. And this is why we talk of inventions and discovery. So the discovery will relate to the future, the solutions you're presenting for the future, and the invention will relate to that which we want to deploy now and ensure that we are addressing an existing problem. And with this, we have different types of research. As I said, probably many of you already know this, but we said if you think you know, then consider it that your neighbor, in terms of the e-platform that we have, is probably learning something. So when we talk of basic research, this is research that is aimed at establishing the basic science responsible for the problem. So we are laying a platform and saying that, yeah, this is happening because the atoms are this and this. But then the atoms are not the real thing that are solving the problem. So, and so on. So that is basic research. Basic research is purely academic, and may not have direct socioeconomic value. But we also have other forms of research, applied research, adaptive research, strategic research. And each of these has its own parentheses and can be defined accurately. But not all problems need research to find answers. So some problems have answers which may not be known to the concerned. And all that is needed is to read widely. First, to prove that the problem does not have immediate answers. If the problem has immediate answers, then it lends more to the development context. And this is why we talk about research for development. Now, if it lends more to the development context, then it is the development partners to take it up. If a community does not have water, then we know there is no water. We are not going to research no water. We know there is no water, and all we need to do is mobilize NGOs to find ways of supplying water in a sustainable manner, and so on and so forth. And we could have many more examples, but I would like to pause it a little here and probably allow you to ask some questions or give some reflections on what we have just said. And then on to the next slide, my colleague professor will take it up from here, starting the process of pointing us to be more focused to proposal development. And in this case, this is proposal development. Over to you, moderator. Oh, we now have, you know, sometimes when you're presenting, it's good that the audience sees you because presentation is voice, is actions, and we missed a bit of that in the previous discussion that I made. But over to you, friends on call. If there are no questions or no points of discussion, then we can just continue to take it away. Thank you.
We have, okay.
We still have people who are raising concerns on the audio. They say it is coming and fading away. So maybe you might need to change maybe the headphones you are using.
Okay.
My colleague Amitu will work on promoting people to talk.
Okay. Yeah, we take note of that.
Evie, please go ahead
and
ask your question.
We'll ensure audibility. Yeah. Any other question?
Evie, you are allowed
Hello.
to talk.
Hello. Yes, we hear you. Go right ahead.
My name is Ivy Muchibi. I'm from Kenya. And I have had your comment on sometimes probably the topics that we choose. And I have a bit of concern. I'm a dietitian by profession and MSc student. So I have a question. When you're speaking about the topics that we choose, for instance, my topic is I want to understand like the nutrition of children who accompany their mothers in the prison setups in Kenya. So now I do understand that probably these kids, if they're not in a facility for a very long period of time, like what I've come to learn is that you'll find that probably they're not malnourished. But then when you look into things like their micronutrient nutrition, you find that there's a challenge. So now my issue with my current area of thinking is, I know this is a problem that probably should be settled by our Kenyan government, but now based on what you're saying, speaking about the water issue, like me going to Takana, for instance, and saying that this community has no water, it's a fact there is no water. So now in my setup and in my area of thinking, do you think there is a problem? Because I already know that the issue has to do with our government policies, in that the people in prisons, in those who are in prisons, basically have to live with certain conditions, have to live with the budget that they're given, and mainly they usually do not factor in those kids who accompany their mothers in those facilities. You're treated almost the same way. So do you think that I'll have challenges, because now this is almost like dealing with something which I know is clearly black and white, that the government is not doing what it should be doing? Or yeah, I would like some insight on that matter.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ivy. And I think your question relates with many other parts, that this is a relevant course. We shall, in the subsequent days, I think tomorrow morning, be talking about problem analysis. Now, there are two things. There's problem identification, and then after you've identified it, you analyze. Or is it the other way around, that you analyze and then identify the problem? But you identify the problem and then analyze it. And I am glad that you're raising up this issue, because for most of our thesis research, we always start with topics. My topic is this. Even when you are applying to graduate school, they ask you for the topic. And sometimes as students, we miss this step of problem identification and analysis. But as we go through the problem identification and analysis, you realize that the research problem is actually embedded in the development context. So you're not going to research everything that the ministry is supposed to be doing about water provision. Even with water provision, yes, we know that but we can still find a research issue about why there is no water in that community. But we are not going to research no water in the community, but we can find a researchable issue about why no water in that community. And I think there were many questions that related to that. I hope that has addressed those questions. There was also a question that I can see in the chat room. Can PhD do applied research? Yes, applied research can have research questions around it. But a PhD is not going to do applied research. But applied research can have research questions around it once they are framed based on the identification and analysis. Hello. Maybe we'll allow 2 more questions and then we move it forward.
Okay, there are more hands raised. Kaira Wadisanga, please go ahead and ask your question. Oh, Shadrach. Shadrach, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. So, thank you. My hand has been raised. I want to appreciate my colleagues who have asked questions. I also want to plead. Are we going to get the slide and the link to the YouTube? I think I've seen that of YouTube. Are we going to get the slides for this session? Then secondly, I think the session just started. Can we be a bit coordinated by holding on with the questions? When you are done with your presentations, then we can proceed with question and answers, if that's fine. Thank you. So that we'll miss some of the key points we need to get along the line. Thank you, and over.
Okay.
We have
Thank you.
Solomon Firi. Solomon
The
Firi.
slides from our side will be made available.
Hello.
Solomon, please go
Yes,
ahead
yes.
with your question.
Yeah, Prof, I just need a clarification on how you differentiated the applied research from adaptive and strategic, just on that one. Thank you.
Oh.
I think because we are breaking, I did not get you well.
Our intention was not to provide lots of definitions on this, but to highlight because there is a lot of literature on these things. But we specifically talked about basic research, and the whole grouping of this is research for development. Now, if you're talking about community research, you are doing research not on the community, but with the community. So that is community-based research. So you're doing research because many times we do research on the community and we ask questions, we never even get back. But then when you do research with the community, and then in the process, the objective, most of the times when we are doing research with the community and for the community, then there is an issue of adoption. Then that is adaptive research. So you probably have prototypes that you're testing, and then you're comparing it with the user groups. It could be farmers, it could be stockists, it could be that category of stakeholders. And then you are involving the stakeholders to understand the difference. And as they understand the difference, they pick that which works best for them. And normally that which works for them may not necessarily be the best, because you may have very high yields and they have nowhere to store the yields. But they may take the moderate, the middle line, or and so on and so forth. So these types of research start marrying into each other. So you can see action research pointing to adaptive research. Now, strategic research would be, we do not have resources to just slam on everything researchable, but there is something that we need to do. There is malnutrition, and malnutrition is a problem everywhere. And so we choose to address the challenge of malnutrition. But as you are addressing the challenge of malnutrition, you are probably also dealing with the issue of food security. And so food security has 3 components to it, or more than 3. There's access, there's utilization, and then there's another that I'm missing. But there are many components to food security. The volume of food available does not necessarily mean that a community is food secure. Yeah, there may be a lot of potatoes and rice, but that is carbohydrates. But now we may want to enrich the potatoes with iron, like has been done, the orange flesh sweet potato with more vitamin. Now that becomes strategic research that is pointing to addressing a couple of challenges, but probably in one solution packaged for the community to address. But for purposes of our thesis research, we probably would like to know that there is basic research, there is research for development, there is research and development. Now, research and development are not moving in tandem, but research for development is saying, as we do research, we are also touching bits of development. So research and development, we can do research and then present it for development. Yeah. So, and all these semantics are presented in literature. We can dig up some articles and share, such that we are able to read them and understand the differences. With this, I would like to thank you so very much. And with your indulgence, I beg that we move on to the next set of slides. And my colleague, Professor Jester, who will take it away from here. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Nampala would also request that you respond to the questions which are being raised in the question and answer. Q&A. Thank you.
The Q&A, how would you want us to do that? We type back or do we read them and then respond?
You can type them. When you click on Q&A, you'll be able to see the questions and then you can type them.
Yes, I see 16. Okay,
yes,
so you want us to, would you like us to respond to them now, or do you want that we, yes, I can see Q&A.
Yes, so you can.
Adaptive and applied, give us examples of adaptive and applied, okay.
So you can, as Professor Tenyo is presenting, you can also just be typing the responses to the people.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope I'm not going to get lost. Okay, so I don't know whether I should say how are you, because we are in different time zones. Otherwise, here in East Africa, it is good afternoon. I am associated with the African Crop Science Journal. If you have heard about it, I'm the editor-in-chief, and my colleague is the science editor. So that is what brings us into this bracket. Now, where are the questions? Where are these?
The questions are in Q&A.
Yes, somebody was asking about the difference between adaptive research and what? Show me that question. And strategic research, is that right? No, it was applied research and adaptive research. Now, applied research is more doing with the upstream, almost close to extension. The answers are available, but within the answers, there are issues that still need to be researched on. So adaptive research is an applied research, say a subset of applied research. Adaptive is research has been done somewhere else, say in West Africa, and you want to see whether, because of differences in agroecology behavior, the results of that research from West Africa can work in East Africa. Okay, so you want to see whether the results from West Africa will adapt in East Africa. And that kind of research is to some extent acceptable for master's degree, not PhD. Because the PhD, we need more original questions without answers. Not even based on location, maybe temperate region it has been worked on, and now, no, that one we don't accept for PhD. Okay? I would like you clarify. Okay. Paul, come and help me. The thing is jumping. So, is it correct to categorize the different forms of research as below?
Basic research, research for development, research and development. So that category, they formed 3 categories.
Yeah, I think this is correct.
Yeah, it is, and that's what I emphasize.
This is correct. This is correct. So applied research, we have talked about it. Adaptive, yes.
strategic.
And Paul has talked about strategic, and then research for research and development. It used to be research and development. You do research, then provide answers to those who are going to do development. Today, it is research for development. In other words, research and development must overlap somewhere, because people are not going to wait for results to be generated and then during the implementation of the research, there are some ready outputs for use by those who are already suffering. So it is research for development, not research and development anymore. Okay. Then many times MSc students have very nice research proposals, but
to actualize the research becomes a challenge due to the financial requirements. In such a case, what would be your advice to such students?
actually, the process of skilling you with the proposal writing, and the reason why we do proposal writing is to make sure that we propose what is feasible in terms of resources, in terms of capacity, in terms of time, in terms of facilities, labs. We don't want you to develop a proposal and then the DNA analysis is somewhere in Switzerland, and the cost of each sample is about $600, and you have 200 samples. But we don't want that. That's why we really do proposal writing. Proposal writing is not just writing, but thinking through what you are doing so that you fit feasibility to the resources available. You don't want to write a proposal and you don't have funds, unless you propose that you write a proposal and then look for funds. Otherwise, that will be a weakness because you are trying to suggest what you can't do.
Yeah. The challenge with students is that they always enjoy the research and it's sweet. So things keep just expanding and expanding. So it's very, very important. You know, you can never finish all the research that there is, but training to be a researcher at MSc, at PhD, you still are going to have opportunity to do research. So cut the bit that will make you qualify and professionalized to be a researcher, and then thereafter you'll go and do the research in the research centers, in the development world, and in the universities, and so on. So don't create a recipe of not finishing, and then you cannot be a researcher.
And it's important to note that when you are writing, you free your mind and put everything on paper, because at the end of the day, then you have to scale it down to the resources you have. And of course, eventually the supervisors have to decide whether what you have ended up with is actually sufficient for a degree. So there's a lot of things in proposal writing here that are not quite obvious. Okay, next, I think for the Q&A questions, but we have Q&A. Questions should be answered here while they present, unless captivating, I think, like you would do with other training. I'm not very clear about that.
Prof, maybe you can continue, and we shall continue checking what is on the Q&A, and if there are burning questions, we shall let you. But for now, I think we can continue.
Okay, we continue.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So now, of course, like Paul said, some of things are so obvious that they are just a part of our routine expressions. When we say research, we don't even think that research has definition. Research means there is something you are going to look for. Now, research is more than looking for. When you look for something, it is lying somewhere, but you don't know. Maybe it might be in your office. For example, if you are looking for a book with the Tenua's name on in his office, that's not the same as searching. Is that right? If you are looking for a book in my office, that's not searching. Because where else can you expect to find such a book other than in my office? So research is about searching. Searching means it's like throwing a stone in the bush to see where a snake will come out. There might be no snakes in that forest. So that is searching. In other words, the answer can be yes or no at the end of the day. And when it is no, doesn't mean you have not done a research. Even the no answers are out. Okay. Research should be on existing problems somewhere, but it can also be on problems that we anticipate. For example, those who invented the airplane. Obviously now, and for now, you know there's an airplane and you don't even think about what went into the invention of that airplane. But at that time when there was no airplane, people imagined in order to get to fly, to move faster to different destinations. But in Africa, nobody is going to give you funds to work on inventions and discoveries, because we just have too many applied problems, too many community problems for anybody to put aside money for a future problem. Okay, now, I think most of these are covered. Oh, I need to. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. I think I was going over the same things as Paul had already completed. Now, what is a proposal? A proposal can be defined as a plan drawn to implement a research project, and it can be research or for development. Now, when we say a proposal, it might look like a document, but that document, what goes into it is so much. You have to select a problem, you have to analyze and screen out certain things, because there are so many issues surrounding that problem that you can't do everything. So you need to think through and distill what you can do, and then write, and then compare what you have written with what the budget can cover and the facilities and your capacity to do the work. So a proposal is more than just a document on paper. Nevertheless, a proposal is what you have in mind. And what you have in mind is yours until you put it on paper for somebody else to read, to share. But in order for your proposal to be shared, a scientific proposal should have the following features. It should be understandable and make sense to target readers. Now, target readers means you can't write for everybody. So in this case, for example, a thesis proposal is written for people who read things like a thesis. And those are academicians, mainly academicians, and maybe your supervisors. So your audience is restricted to a group that are from your discipline. So the people in your discipline should be able to read and make sense out of what you have written. Remember, the document will go without you, so there's no substantiation to say, I meant this. This is what I said. It goes, it should be complete in the form that has been written. But by so saying, I'm not saying you should be very verbose, use a lot of words. No, scientific writing requires that you say what you mean and say it now. Don't zigzag around trying to test somebody's understanding of English language. No, it's joining point A to point B and not going via point B and then come back to, no. You have to be straight. As I said earlier on, the proposal should be advancing feasible work that will actually be implemented in terms of time, funds, infrastructure, and your research capacity. Don't write a proposal for which you don't have capacity yourself. And of course, capacity from other people, like field people and so on. Above all, a proposal should be impressive. Should be impressive. It should be a document from which the reader should learn something. Even if it's from your discipline, at least let them learn the style, the new style. And being a scientific proposal, it should be logical. Logic is an issue a reader is considering. It should be elaborate but precise, to the point. It should present an original idea. And not only original idea, but the text, the narrative should be more original, although it has citations. The amount of original work should be more than what you are citing. It should be promising significant news findings. Somebody should read and anticipate that there will be news in the findings. And as part of being relevant, you should be using current terminologies in that area. I wouldn't give examples right away, but you know what I mean, I guess. And preferably, scientific documents, including proposals, should be written as stories. Should be a story. We call it a research story. And you know what a research story means. A story has a beginning and has an end. And the beginning begins with where the audience's knowledge is, and it ends with where the reader's knowledge is almost absent. And it is logical, logically written, chronologically written, that is written in a sequence so that the reader doesn't at any one point find himself at a junction and they don't know what you mean. And once they get to such a junction, the gap, they begin to assume what you didn't mean. And therefore, the message will not be as complete as expected. And of course, avoid copying and pasting, because if somebody detects that there is something copied, it's like telling a lie. Somebody will never believe you if you have ever told a lie. So similarly, if you copy and paste and somebody finds out this, they will never believe in everything else about the story you are talking about. Yes, today we have artificial intelligence software, and this is making the research very tricky. And what it is doing is take away capacity building, because everything it does is, it just provides you with the document. Unfortunately, the end point is going to be that you cannot be employed because there is nothing original you can raise in you. You don't have the capacity. So we need to guard against this. Fortunately, there are other software that can detect that a document was developed through AI. And if that is noticed, of course, your proposal will be disqualified immediately. Okay, then we have types of proposals. Of course, we have the development proposals, which may have nothing to do with the research. It's a project. It has nothing to do with the research. Okay, and often such a project is wide and it has teams and stakeholders. It has budgets, it has accountability, it has monitoring and evaluation, and so on and so forth. And then development proposals. Then we have research for development proposals. It's a proposal which has research and development in it. We have already mentioned this. Research will have activities to do with research and then activities to do with development. And because of its scope, it needs a lot of arrangements and implementation. It will have a lot of multi and interdisciplinary groups or teams. And such proposals are often community-driven. In other words, the communities are the center of development of the proposal and implementation. Now, in this case, our focus is on thesis proposals. But after graduating, then it will be inevitable that you do development research for development or development proposals. And I think you will have time to go through modules on that in future. So from this time on, we are only talking about research proposals, research for academic qualifications. Okay. Now, a thesis proposal is very focused. For example, you can, okay, you can, if you're working on cassava research, there must be an aspect on cassava research. For example, if it is a disease, it might not be necessary to start with agriculture, which is the most important in Nigeria, and then eventually come. Why don't you start with cassava straight? And if it's an academic proposal, why don't you start with seeds of cassava? And then have a aspect of it's significant later on.
Professor, we can't hear you.
Pardon?
We can't hear you. You've been, your last sentence, we didn't hear what you said.
Okay, let me repeat.
Okay.
I said academic proposals, because they are focused on a certain discipline, you don't have to start from very far. For example, most of the proposals that we used to have, if you are working on cassava, you start from agriculture, very important, Sub-Saharan Africa, before you eventually come cassava. Now, the members of your discipline for whom you are writing already know agriculture, and they know cassava is hopefully. So if the issue is start with the disease and then have some reflections of maybe importance of cassava, and then back to the disease distribution, its effect on the economy, and so on and so forth. Okay. So the academic proposal very focused, and because it is aimed at an academic qualification, it would be good for you to have an idea about the guidelines from your university of how you should write. But what we notice is that those who have guidelines are normally from a certain discipline. And so they tend to focus on their own style. So confirm with the supervisor. Supervisors also have a way of writing, and they prefer that. And they don't want to be educated about a new style. So it is somewhere between the university guidelines and the supervisors. Now, unlike the development proposal, which involves teams and big grants, the thesis proposal is driven by the student mainly, with the help of the supervisor. The student almost manages everything else. Okay. Now, for master's degrees, the scope of work is not as much as a PhD. For PhDs, we want original questions. And one way to verify whether you're working with an original question is to turn around the objective. I think it is our internet which is unstable. I can see occasionally something is coming on the screen. So to prove that what you are working on is original, turn the objective statement into a question and find out the probability that there is no answer. If the answer is about if the probability is 50% that they are, then the novelty of what you are suggesting is very considerably reduced. I don't know whether I'm clear on that. Maybe I'll pause to find out whether I'm clear.
Yes,
Hello?
you are now clear.
I'm saying for PhDs, we need original work. Now, how do you prove that this work is original? I said that turn the statement of what you are thinking is a problem into a question. And then, based on the existing information in literature, find out the probability that there is no answer, what you think is the question. And if there are some answers, the level of originality is going to reduce with the increase in probability. If the probability is 50% that there are answers, then you are driving in the dead end, more or less. And if there are answers, then don't attempt that, because there will be no news for you to generate. And even publications will not be accepted in the journals. But you can publish elsewhere, and there are also journals that are not peer-reviewed. Are we together? Hello? Hello?
Check the chat session and see what the participants are saying. On the chat. But you can go ahead. Others are saying the sound is bad. Some will know. Yeah. The audio is not so
Go
good.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay, let me go ahead. I understand. Maybe we can come back and.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Then the structure of this is proposed. I think for a scientific research proposal, the structure has been simplified. It's like when you in the shop, the ladders are already there, and it is you to find out what and where. The structure is predictable, in other words. But for social sciences, it may not be predictable. You may have to create it the way you want. And I think that would be the best, because then you style yourself. Sciences, you don't style yourself. The structure is there. Although when the structure is there, it simplifies your life. And the structure I'm talking about is something like the title, the abstract, the introduction, and I think that kind of structure, we call it IMRAD. I don't know whether you are aware about that. IMRAD structure, which is based on the introduction, materials and methods or methodology, results, and discussion. We are talking about a proposal, but essentially we are only talking about the first part of research. Eventually, I think in another session, we are going to talk about the reports, where results and discussion will be followed. So the scientific structure is normally IMRAD. However, it is IMRAD, but within the different sections of the proposal, it is varied in terms of style. And within it, the subsections of those sections, you can add other things to clarify on what you are saying, and also to increase the attractiveness of the proposal. And those additions might be the things that might get you to win the grant or win the what, or win the approval of the university. Yeah, that's what I've been talking about. The title, which is normally cover page. You may have a running title. Running title means the short form of the title that appears on each other page inside the document. And you may have a table of contents, depending on the guidelines from the university or the size of the proposal. If the proposal is very big, it would be good to have a table of contents. And then the abstract or executive summary, you are writing for a grant, development project, normally we go for executive summary. If it is a thesis proposal, we go for abstract. And then the objectives. The objectives normally end after the introduction, but also within the abstract, you must have the same statement, before you continue. And we are going to be looking at the objective. Objective is very important because it's the one that tells us where we are going and how far. It tells us where we stop with the proposal. But it's also a reference point for writing the proposal. Because when you are, for example, writing the introduction, you want to stay on course. But what is defining the course is the objective. When you go to methodology, you only need to write those things that refer your objective. When you go to outputs, again, this should be output as defined by the objective. So the objective is very important, and we are going to come to it maybe tomorrow. And then hypothesis. Because we are writing a proposal, primarily we are basing on the fact that there is a rumor somewhere that this, when you do this and this happens. So we are now put that in context of design a study, have replications, have repetitions, collect data and analyze. Okay. Now, depending on the type of site, if it is scientific, normally we go with the hypothesis. If it is social sciences, we either go with the prepositions or so where you have such questions, normally you don't have hypothesis. Okay. And then these research questions lead to questionnaires. The research questions become the subtitles, and then we download them we unpack them into smaller questions, which form the questionnaire. I think we have even know some of the details of collaborating institutions. If it is research for development. But normally when you are doing the thesis research, you don't have other partnering institutions. Maybe at the level of your supervisor, you may be part of a project covering different countries, and then he takes you on as a student to do just an aspect of that project. Of course, materials and methods, which sometimes we call methodology. Materials and methods are for science-based research because you need materials and then the equipment. But when you do social research, maybe what you need is a computer, a vehicle to take you to the field. So that can be called methodology. You can have some of these things offshore within methodology. Then usually we end with expected outputs. Expected outputs or outcomes, no, outputs, I think. Short, for short durated studies, we have outputs. And then the outcomes are when the outputs are scaled over a long period across communities, then what you get there is the output. Yes. Just back to the development projects, they are, even if they are not, even if we follow the IMRA kind of structure, there are some additions that will enrich and increase the competitiveness of your proposal. For example, you can add subtitles on beneficiaries of this research and the disadvantaged people and how you will bring them back into the bracket of the stakeholders so that your activities are not so that your activities are not challenged. And then usually another point we consider is the environmental impact. Now, the environmental impact is the effect beyond your target. For example, in Nigeria, there was a project to bring closer water to families by sinking boreholes. But the impact was that women who were suffering with water continued to go miles away and leaving the boreholes. So that the impact, apart from achieving the boreholes that stunk and water brought closer to homes, the impact was that women continued fetching water from very far, because fetching water from very far was not only because women didn't have boreholes, but because it gave them time to share discussions with the other women. So impact is more than effect. Effect is in the short term, impact is in the long term. And then you can bring in things like the teams, the different teams that will be involved in the project and their roles and their specialty and time that is committed to the project, then the work plan, references, budget and budget justification, and so on and so forth. This is not so much to do with the thesis proposal. Okay. Now, the writing process, we are slowly getting into what this workshop is about. The writing process of a proposal. Different styles are used in the writing process of scientific proposals. And what we are going to use tomorrow and other days is just one of the styles. We encourage you to be very flexible and adopt other writing styles. As I said, no, I haven't said this. Let me say it now, that the objective of writing should be to connect with the interests of the readers. First of all, find out what the readers need and then write for them. If you do that, your writing will be a success. Otherwise, you will be doing selfish writing, writing for yourself. Okay? But what we need to know then, because I mean, we are not saying that you go out there and look for who will read and ask them what they are interested in. You are writing for people from your discipline. And they are people like you. So what you like is what they most likely they will also like. Your capacities will be similar to their capacities, their interests, and so on and so forth. So use yourself as part of the targeted readers. As for scientific readers, the following is very common, and you need to consider it seriously. They normally don't have a lot of time. They are very busy people. And therefore, they need the writer to be very precise with information. Be precise, and being scientists, they entertain a lot of logic. Where's the logic in this document? And there must be news, or the document should promise news. And scientists prefer documents that are not very comprehensive, with long sentences, tough vocabulary. Many people want to show that they know English by writing, using a lot of vocabulary. No, they don't have time to use dictionaries to understand every word that you are using. And because by so doing, they may be taken away from the developing story. Are we still together, members? Hello? Hello?
Yes, they are saying yes.
Oh, they are saying yes, but I can't hear.
No, they will not be able to talk, but they can only write in the chat.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So maybe I can repeat. Maybe I don't have to repeat. But I'm saying that before you write, you need to appreciate the following features about scientists. They don't have a lot of time. So please say exactly what you want to say and say it now. 2, use simple English and short sentences and simple words, because you have a message you are delivering, and that message to reach the reader, they must understand it and completely. For example, when I say illustrate, many people will give me different definitions, different actions. Illustrate. Some will say show, some will say draw, some would say present, but all those, if used, will lead you different directions. So use a word that going to be embraced by most readers and to have the same meaning. If you are writing for scientists. And I said scientists entertain the logic. They want to see where the logic is. If there's no logic, forget it. And they also want to see what kind of news you are delivering or will come out of this proposal. They tend to dislike comprehensive texts, a text that will rotate around, that needs a lot of digestion. That's not their type of text. And if you realize most of such texts will end up with the opposite of where they started from. They don't want verbosity. Verbosity, very many words to mean small thing. Please look for how to restate it and be straight on. Maybe I can stop there a little bit and we get some. We get some in the chat. If there are some questions, or I continue. Should I continue?
They are saying yes.
Pardon? Yeah, there's a question that is what we have presented so far necessary for masters? I think so. You have to take out what doesn't belong to those large development projects. The rest is for degree qualifications. Yes, we are going to come to the focused elements and the definitions of what goes for masters and PhD, starting from tomorrow. The difference between hypothesis and problem statement, I would request that we postpone and we will cover that, I think, tomorrow. We'll go, yeah. Yeah, we'll get there tomorrow. Next. Oh. Yeah, there's a question about discussion and results and discussion. Well, although we are working on proposal, this proposal is going to translate into a complete research cycle, which will include results and discussion. And those two parts will be in another session. But we wanted to show you the complete IMRAD, what IMRAD means. Is there another question? Okay. If there are no other questions, then I'm going to the actual writing.
The Prof, there's a question about using AI to write the proposal. What could be your comment on that? Artificial intelligence.
I said it's becoming increasingly a tool in writing. But actually it is taking away the skills. We are becoming too dependent on it. And what I said, what we need to be aware is that there are also software that can tell that this document came from such an AI software. And if somebody finds out that, that will be the end of your proposal. Okay? So AI is, we can say, is corrupting us not to be original. But in itself, there are safety measures that can get us into trouble. So it is best that you write your own document and develop the skill. Otherwise, AI is going to replace you. You can't get a job if you are only depending on AI. Okay, so we continue.
Yes.
Okay, if you look at the screen, there is there's a photo on the left and a sketch on the right. Where do we start writing? Well, we start by obtaining a problem area. We are calling it problem area. For example, can we get a problem area? Yes, for example, fall armyworms. I don't know whether that makes sense to people. Fall armyworm. Does it make sense to people? Okay, drought. Drought is increasingly prevalent. Some people call it climate change. And I would like to call it climate change effect. And everybody is complaining about drought. Okay? So that's a problem area. But within the drought, there are priority areas. There are issues that are more seriously affected by drought than others. So in selecting a problem area, we put priority ranking within what we select as a problem area. Okay? In other words, there must be a community. Maybe your community is complaining of drought, and you want to consider drought as a problem to be solved. Now, drought is very broad, and it is affecting almost everything. But as I said, certain things are being affected more than others. So it is best to sort of identify more. For example, these like Frisians. These are animals brought from elsewhere, from another agroecology, whatever. So Frisians are probably yielding less milk than is anticipated of their potential. And people are saying because of drought. So that's now the problem area. Okay? The problem area is defined by the communities. And now we want to start from what the communities are seeing so that we turn that into research and academic exercise. Now, the writing a proposal, of course, is going to involve a lot of things. Problem analysis. There are certain things we call log frame. If it's if it's not a thesis type of research, but forget about those for now. In objective writing, in thesis research, we start from where people know and we go towards where people don't know. Okay? We start from where communities know to where they don't know. And what we are trying to do is to focus ourselves on what we are going to do. So the focus increases as we write downwards through the sections of introduction, methodology or literature review, methodology, outputs, budget, and action plan. We tend to be more focused as we go downwards. And by so doing, we are reducing also the scope of our audience, our readers. And the language we are using is also increasingly technical. So we come from simple to highly technical. And along the way, we are going to lose readers. The readers are going to be highly technical to understand what we are saying as we move along. And the logic is also increasing downwards. So in whatever we are going to write, we should note that we have to reduce the scope as we go downwards to become more and more focused. Okay. And somewhere in between, you see a line moving across. That line is the objective of the study. And you remember we said, if you start writing, the sky will be the limit as to which direction you are taking and where you will stop, unless you have a guide. And the guide here is the objective statement. It's going to help you at any time T to know how relevant you still are to the topic. Okay? And the objective is the one to always guide you to say you are still relevant. If you have digressed a lot, you have to come back to mention something about the objective and then continue. And this is going to be for all proposals, for essays, for publications. You must have almost the objective first and then start writing. Why? Because it's the one going to define the scope in terms of length and width, and also it's going to tell you where to stop. If you remove it, the sky will be the limit. You just have to get tired of writing and then say, I think I have to stop here. But the document will not be coherent, and it's going to raise a lot of questions if you don't have that line guiding you in writing. But by so saying, I mean more than that. To get that line means you have to do a lot of work to get it to be precise and to be reflective of the problem you are solving. Because if it is vague, it's going to misrepresent the problem, and the answers you get will not be the right ones. Okay, let me stop and find out if we are still together, or do you have some questions?
They are saying yes.
And how we can best apply it, write a good research thesis. For example, how does ontology, epistemology, theology, methodology, objectivism,
Prof, your volume has gone down.
Positivism, interpret another philosophical stances and paradigms.
Paul, maybe you can use yours. You can unmute.
Or either data science or social science. Maybe you can.
Paul, thank you. If you are talking, you can unmute.
Okay. That's a loaded question. I hope everybody got it. Paul, I think I want to get it back. It's a loaded question. We don't. Do you have an answer to that one?
The answer is no. Because that is not covered in the federal. So you're writing your proposal. The prerequisite is that you already studied these things in your specific. So I think all most is research and research methods, and I think that's what.
Okay, I lost. Can you come and beam up my picture again?
Dear participants, we encourage you to register your names, your contact details in the link which we are providing. Please do not put your contacts in the chat.
Okay.
Just go on and register on the link which we are providing. If you do not register, you will not be able to find the training materials or even to get the certificate. Please make sure you register all the days you will be attending this training. Thank you.
Okay. Although your thing is giving an echo, can you? Although the steps to writing or the table of contents was defined above, the writing approach is different. We start with the simplest things and end up with the more complicated things. According to us means me and Paul and me. It's best to get the problem. You remember we said problem area. Get that problem and dissect it into pieces and find out what makes sense of those pieces in terms of priority, and then select the few pieces that you are going to work on. And after doing that, in terms of problem analysis, then give them an objective statement that befits them. And of course, then you have to generate hypothesis from the objective. For example, the objective can be develop a strategy for improving animal production, animal yield and quality. So that means there will be a strategy for production and a strategy for yield. So each of those will have a different hypothesis. Okay? Why? Because there will be different ways of generating data for each of them. And obviously, there will be different ways of handling production and handling milk quality. Okay? Then, if it is a development project, for those of you who are at that level, then we go into what we call a log frame or logical framework. And for the thesis proposal, we are not going into that because it quickly takes us in a different way. It has something to do with the drawing logic in the activities, the funds, M&E, and so on and so forth. And those are not issues for us for the thesis proposal. And then the goal and purpose is not again for thesis proposal, but methodology is. So from the problem identification, we quickly get the objective. And why is the objective important? I've already said it. It's the one going to direct us where we are going and tell us the destination and the amount of text that we need to surround to lead to a complete proposal or paper or whatever. So after that, then we write methodology for each of the objective. How are we going to achieve it? Each one of them must have an elaborate narrative text, including inputs, activities, including inputs, treatments or factors, the design, and then how data will be collected in methodology for each objective or sub-objective. Or if you want for each hypothesis, how are we going to collect the data and analyze and then say yes or no? Okay. Beneficiaries and impact, in this for development of projects, project management, the same. The project might be covering many countries, many institutions, and the budget background is the introduction. So we are going to write the introduction at level 9, which is different from the way you normally write. You write title, introduction or abstract, introduction, methodology. And instead of writing in that order, we are going to reverse it and start with certain aspects strategically so that the writing is easy. But every time we finish one part, we take it back into the normal structure. The style of writing is going to be different, but whenever we finish one part, we take it back into the normal IMRAD structure. And the title is number 10. Can you imagine? But up there, if you remember the inverted pyramid, we said problem area. Problem area or topic is not the same as the title. That you give a title as a name representing the contents of the proposal. So you should not be able to get the title before you have completed the proposal. Some people think it is the shortest form of the document or the proposal. And then you write an abstract. In other words, you can't summarize what you don't have. But I know many of you will write an abstract before the many document. Okay, are we together? Members, look at the chat.
They are saying yes.
They are saying yes. Are there some questions? Can we get other ways that they write a proposal? The quickest ways?
Yeah, I think there are very many questions in the chat room. And just to clarify that our approach is going to be step by step. Yeah, for example, those that are asking about hypotheses, objectives, we are going to have a session where we are going to have a presentation on hypotheses and objectives and how to construct effective objectives. So today is only an overview articulating the issues.
Paul, maybe reduce the volume of the other computer first. First, reduce the volume of the second computer. Paulo, you're muted. We are not hearing you.
Okay, I think we need to have a discussion of how different participants do, because this is our view. This is our view, and it's not the only style that you can use. Otherwise, tomorrow we are going to go item by item of a proposal.
We didn't get you clearly. The voice was not clear. Kindly repeat what you're saying. Possibly use the second computer, which we were hearing, though there was an echo.
Okay. I said that this style is ours, but participants have different styles.
Sorry, it's not clear. Kindly maybe use the second computer, which has Dr. Paul Nampala's name, so that we can see whether the sound is okay. The sound is not okay with the one for Prof. John Tenyo.
Yes, go ahead.
So I was saying that the style we are proposing here is ours, but the participants have different styles. We apologize for the echo. We are trying to work on it. Sorry.
Just mute, just remove the volume from the second computer and everything will be fine. The other computer, which has Prof. John Tenyo, should have the volume lowered.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So is it lowered now?
Yes, it is.
No, it is not.
It's low. It is at 0. So just continue.
Okay, so I was saying that what we are presenting is our kind of style, but there are many styles out there that participants have been using. Can we share those? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you clearly now.
Hello?
Yes, we are getting you clearly.
This one is muted.
So participants, please share your mechanisms as a prophecy.
Hello?
Yes, we are hearing
you. Hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello? Hello? Martin?
Yes, we can hear
Can
you.
you please
clearly.
confirm you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Martin. Can you confirm you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Can answer these questions as you go.
Paul,
Okay.
we can hear you.
I was.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
I was saying that it is good to share, participants to share with us the kind of writing styles they've been using.
Okay. So should we allow participants to talk?
I think so.
Okay. So participants have raised hands. There is the first hand from Herbert Olinga. Please go ahead and respond to Prof's question. And then also followed by Glory Makungu. Please mention where you're from, the institution and the country, such that we know where you're from. Herbert?
Sorry, I had an earlier question, but I'm okay now.
Oh, thank you. Glory Makungu?
No, I was not getting him, but now I'm getting him.
Okay, thank you. Now we go to Remy. Remy?
Yeah, I'm clear, please. I'm getting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we have Dairu. Dairu, please
Hello.
unmute yourself. Yes.
Oh, thank you. I'm Dairu from Cameroon.
Yes, please, Dairu.
My question, I'm from Institute of Research and Agricultural Development. My question is concerning the last part of the presentation. Hello?
Hello,
yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Is the part concerning title selection is not clear for me. What we're supposed to do for that? Thank you, Prof.
Well, as I said, you can't give a name to a person you don't know. It's like giving a dress to somebody whose size you don't know. So the title comes last after you have designed the study. If you put the title first, it will force. Sorry. Hello?
Yes, I'm getting you, Prof.
Yes, it will force your thinking to address the title when actually you need flexibility while writing.
Okay.
So have the title last.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, next one is Bridget Birunji. Bridget, unmute yourself and ask the question. Bridget? I think Bridget is taking time, so we go to Lucky Mene. Agnes, please go ahead and ask your question. introduce yourself and where you're from.
Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Agnes. I'm from Kenya, but doing my study in Addis. I think the presentation was good, even though we had challenges with the sound. What we used was the former way of coming up with a proposal, where we were taught to come up with a title, and then you do background to the study, the problem statement, the objective, and literature review, followed by the methodology. But what Prof has presented is very eye-opening, because you need to understand before you say what you want to do. So that is what I needed to say. Thank you.
There is also Evaristo. I don't know whether, Prof, you want to respond to that first, or we allow others to ask and then respond at once.
I think that was a compliment.
Okay. So we allow Evaristo Malenge.
Yes, my name is Evaristo, and I'm speaking from Kenya, from Nairobi. I have following what Prof has been taking us through, and I didn't hear the part of literature review, because for the proposal, the way I was taught is that after introduction, then I should at least do a review of that particular section that I want to do, what other people have done about it, a literature review. And then I'd also like to concur with Prof, because in my master's, I had the title first, but then I realized that after I had designed the whole thing, I kept on now editing the title. So I agree with him fully that really the title should at least come at the last point, because even I have colleagues again who came up with the title first, but by the time they are finishing up their thesis, you realize that the title has metamorphosized and it's completely different from what they defended at their proposal stage. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, another one is the
definitely literature is very important.
Please go ahead, Prof, if you want first to respond, because we have a number of people online who want to ask a question.
Hello.
Coco Romari.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
hello?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Where
am
are
I,
you from? Yes.
Am I
Tell us
audible?
where you're from. We are hearing you.
We can
My
hear
name
you.
is Ibrahim from Nigeria, studying from Kaduna State University. Actually, something happened there. I couldn't get the last slide presentation. That was the pyramid. I don't understand it. And secondly, when it comes to voicing out, actually, I don't normally hear the presenter's speech. Sometimes it used to fluctuate, but your own, the person that is asking questions and stuff like that, telling people to answer the questions, your voice is very clear more than the presenter. So I don't know, maybe by next tomorrow also, maybe we'll try and fix the fluctuation of the voice. I think it will help a lot. That's my question. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you very much. That is noted. And we will now use this computer more than the other one. Sorry.
Yes, to be better.
Thank you. And then we have Coco Romaric Posset. Please go ahead and ask the question. Also, Lucky is with us. Lucky.
Hello, yeah. Good afternoon, Prof.
Oh, good afternoon. How are you? Please go ahead.
Lucky, please unmute. Lucky, please unmute.
Okay. I said, this is Lucky Mena calling from Nigeria, University of Port Harcourt. Yeah, the presentation was.
Yours. This is also.
Lucky, we seem
wonderful,
to
but
get you clearly.
network fluctuation, I can't get all the details. So I don't know if a voice, a record, or a manual on this presentation can be sent as soft copy to participants.
Yes, we have been sharing the link in the chat section. Our colleagues are sharing it, and they are going to send again the YouTube link where you can listen to the recording at any time of your convenience.
Okay,
And then,
thank you very much.
You are welcome, Lucky. The next person is Coco Romaric. Coco.
Hello, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you. Introduce
Thank you.
yourself, where you're from, and which country.
Okay, this is Coco Romaric from Benin. I'm right now pursuing a master's degree from the Pan-African University of Water and Energy Sciences, including climate change. So thank you very much for this section. But I would like to take the prof back on the step 3 concerning the logical step in proposal writing. I didn't get well that part. I mean the log frame approach. If the prof can go back and detail it a bit for me, it will be a very nice thing. Thank you.
Okay, the log frame I said is reserved for development projects and not for thesis work, because it considers many members of the team who are implementing, the stakeholders, the budget, the M&E, which you don't have in the thesis writing. So please ignore that. You will understand it more after you have graduated and you are now dealing with the real issues.
Grant proposal development.
Yeah, with the grant proposals. Hello?
Yes, Prof. So maybe we can allow more too, and then you can continue. We have Lawan Abba. Lawan, please go ahead.
Audible.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Oh, all right. Thank you. I'm
Yes,
Lan
yes,
Abba
yes.
Baba Maragana, PhD researcher from Kenyatta University, Kenya. Mine is actually just a clarification because we don't want to miss any part of this training. Can you kindly clarify how long does it take per session so that we can plan the day quite appropriately? Thank you for the brilliant presentation.
Thank you, Lawan. The plan is from 2 to 5 East African time, but depending on the material the facilitators have, they should be able to finish earlier or slightly beyond, but most times they will be able to finish before that time, which is 2 to 5 p.m. GMT, that GMT plus 3 Nairobi time. And then we have is it Revocatus or Revocatus? Evodius. It's a difficult name, Evodius.
Yes, I'm the one. I have a question, especially based on the grant project proposal.
Kindly tell us where you're from. We would like to know where you're from, such that we take record.
Okay, once again, I'm Revocatus Evodius from Tanzania. I have accomplished my degree studies in University of Sokoine here in Tanzania. My question is based on the grant project proposal that you have said that we have to follow this almost 11 steps on writing proposals. But how can you write proposal without maybe collecting data, going to the feed and analyzing data? I mean that you want to sit down and write a proposal. Is it possible without having data from the field? That is my question.
Actually, the purpose of writing a proposal is to be able to collect data, analyze it, and then have it available for presentation. So when we say methodology, we are bunching all those things in there. When we say methodology, we mean we decide whether the nature of the study, whether it's a survey or what is in there, the treatments, the design, the methods for collecting the data, which parameters you are going to collect data on, how many times, using what, all those are in methodology. And after getting the data, how are you going to analyze, and how are you to present those data in order to enable further results interpretation and discussion.
Yeah.
So today we are giving you an overview. And starting from tomorrow, we are going to go each section by section of a research proposal.
Yeah, in other words, what you're talking about is part of the prerequisite. We are at a stage where the assumption is that you have gathered all that information and now you are ready to write your proposal. So you have all the information that you need and now you're ready to write the proposal. So now we are trying to get the skill. We are skilling ourselves in writing the proposal. It's not that we have now sat down to write, then we realize we have to go to another district to consult some stakeholders. We have already done the consultation.
Thank you. Do you still want to take more questions, or that is now enough? Because there are so many people with raised hands, I don't think you will be able to finish.
I think
we can take a few more questions.
Yeah, because this is a practical thing.
Okay. So we have Raf Wego. Raf Wego. Raf, please go ahead. Raf Wego.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm Raf Wego from Kenya, postgraduate at Kenyatta University. I've heard the Prof loud and clear about the steps of writing a good proposal, but he has not gone deeper into the theoretical framework, theories that we use in writing a good proposal. So I was asking, how many theories can we use in writing the number of theories that we can use to build on our work? Thank you.
I don't know whether it is theories or if you are talking about theoretical framework, it's you to construct it. It's you to construct your theoretical framework to convince us as readers. Isn't it? And the art of doing it will be part of the impressing the readers that you actually understand what you are doing.
Okay.
Although not all research requires you to write a theoretical framework.
Okay, thank you, Prof. We have Rashid Okoth.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Okoth Rashid from Shambago University, Uganda, and I'm also done pursuing Bachelor of Science in Chemical and Process Engineering. So I do have a question on proposal writing. I made some application, I did some, I already in an interview in a scholarship in Japan. It was a Japanese scholarship, but they asked me to make a proposal. And in that proposal, they want me to put the problem, the challenge I'm solving, which is in Uganda, At the same time, it's in relationship to what is in Japan, which can connect the two countries to solve a common problem. So it made it difficult for me because for example, I do identify my own challenge that I want to solve within Uganda, but the one in Japan, I do not know. So making that kind of a proposal almost failed me, and I would like some assistance there. Then the other is, the second question is, what if the equipment that I need in my research that I'm going to do for master's degree is not within my home country, and I think it is in that country where I am supposed to go? How do I make the methodology? Because with the methodology, some of these scholarships even want you to include the procedures of what you did up to the results. Thank you.
Yes, you remember we said a proposal should be a real thing.
Yes.
So there's no way you are going to speculate on what is in Japan and connect it with Uganda when you don't have information. Usually with such arrangements, you are linked to somebody in Japan as a provisional supervisor who may provide you with what is available, and then on the basis of which you can write the proposal. Otherwise, without facts about Japan, there's no way I can advise you how to write.
Yes.
Yeah. What was the other question?
Like the other question was concerning the, like, if the research I want to make, for example, let me give an example. If I want to discover what I can use to break down plastics so that I can eradicate that challenge of the plastics in the country or anywhere in the whole world. And I do not, and we don't have those equipments within Africa or within Uganda where I am. So how do I make that methodology up to the results when I feel like if I go for master studies and I get more knowledge in that, that's when I can really do get what I do want.
You see, as I said, part of successful proposal writing requires you to write about what you can do. If you are going to reach somewhere and say, now I need to go to Australia, that means, you are not a good writer of proposals. You are not a good scientist. So it's part of the scale we use to judge your ability to do things.
Yes, Doctor. Okay? Yes.
You can as well write up to where you can do things, and then in the future, you see how to further on, or somebody else further it on with the larger grants to Australia.
Yes, I understand. Thank you very much.
Otherwise, no. Do that.
Hello?
Because you will not do it. Anymore?
Yes, so we have Elizabeth Ngubi. Elizabeth.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Prof. And thank you, facilitators, for this program. Myself, I'm a lecturer from Kenya University called Catholic University of Eastern Africa. And I find this training very eye-opening, or rather very important, because many times we even have forums where we tell our students, can you defend your topic? Way before they do anything about their research. That is like something that throws them off balance now, based on what Professor has taught us today, meaning we need students to, first of all, do some background check, do some research or literature review to check what is there before they come up with a topic. So I think it is something that will help us change our practice in some way. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think what you're asking of the student is a problem area and not the title. It's a problem area from which the title, after analysis, can be developed. Next.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. We go to Sodaga Sinj. Sinj, please.
Thank you, Professor, for the elaborate insight. I'm actually from Uganda. I am a master's student doing computer science, and I am studying in Uganda Christian University. My concern, Prof, is that there are some couples of questions I would want to pose to you. Probably you can answer them now, and then there are others that will come along as you kickstart the actual in-depth of the proposal writing. One of the questions I wanted to pose to you was, how do I tailor my research proposal to the requirements of different funding agencies or institutions? That's one question. Then,
can you repeat? How do you tell?
How do I tailor my research proposal to the requirements of different funding agencies or institutions?
Okay, let me answer that first.
Yes, sir.
First of all, each funding agency has its own agenda. And they normally describe roughly, or sometimes in details, deriving from the country's either goals or development goals or mission and so on and so forth. They tend to tell you something about that, and even they give you a scale against which they are going to grade your application.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is you now to work towards meeting those requirements.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for that enlightenment.
Maybe before we leave this, please note that here we are talking about thesis proposals. Proposals that help students, masters, PhD, to be able to do their thesis research, write it up, publish. But now you're talking about grant writing proposals. Now, grant writing is a little different. The steps that we take to write the grant will be different. That's why you see on the slide that we presented at the very end, we highlighted log frame. When you're doing thesis proposals, you don't need to do a log frame. That is normally an item that is for the grant proposals. So we are focusing ourselves. You remember that triangle that was presented on the slide? We are focusing ourselves to thesis research proposals. And I think in the chat room, there is a lot of interest on grant writing proposals, but we are focusing on thesis research proposals.
Thank you for that that remark. I just wanted to just ask the final question to Prof. When I am I'm writing, how do I write an effective research question or hypothesis?
Well, after developing your objectives, the objectives will have segments in there that will lead to different outputs. So each segment is qualifies to be in other words, for example, I can't give an IT, a computer-based example. But for example, if you want to develop a strategy for increasing milk yield in a cattle, and as I said, and quality for the market. Now, increasing milk yield in itself, you have to speculate, you have to state statistically in a hypothesis that will lead you to increasing milk yield.
Okay.
And then also increasing milk quality. That would be another one. So you state a hypothesis for each of those. And the answers to both of them will be an answer to that objective. Is that okay?
Thank you,
Hello?
Prof. Thank you, Prof. I submit.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Finch. Now the next one, we can go to Innocent. 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 Or if Innocent is the tech.
Hello.
Yes, Innocent, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor, and the other facilitators for the wonderful training. I'm Innocent James Matekere from Tanzania. And my question specifically lies on the introduction and the background information part. I've never understood what is the main difference between the background information and the introduction part, because in some of the studies you find someone has written the introduction and then followed by the background information, or the other one has written the background information only, and the other one has written the introduction part only. Now, what is the main difference between this, and in what type of research needs both, and in what type of research is needed the introduction or the background information either? Thank you so much for listening.
Okay. Many times the two are taken to be similar, depending on who is asking for what. But if you are to write an introduction, for everything you write, there must be an introduction, whether as a statement or otherwise. And within the introduction, the reader needs to know where are you coming from to say what you are saying. That's the background. And it depends on how much you write. You don't want to write a background that is very long. And some people will have introduction as a section and then start with the background. And if you are talking about background, just say a little of where you are coming from. Don't make it 5 paragraphs of background. That will be very boring and quite misleading. So background can be part of the introduction. Even if you add a topic as background, you have an introductory section as the first paragraph. Okay? Even in the abstract, many people will write, a study was done on this. No. The first sentence should be sort of accounting for the background, so that the reader knows from where you are coming to say what you are saying. Okay, so the first sentence can serve both as an introduction and as a background. And then you go to objectives, or the statement of the objective, and then you go to the actual study. Maybe a survey was done, where, when, and which type of survey, what instruments you used, and what size of the sample, and so on and so forth. And then you go to results, if it is a paper or something. But if it is a proposal, you end with data collection and analysis.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hello?
Yes, okay. Thank you, Innocent, for the question. I believe Prof has responded. So we go to Manyang, Gatijek, Riek. Manyang. Manyang. The next one. Okay. There is also Shakira. Muendo.
Okay.
Shakira? Shakila?
Yes,
Go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, my name is Shakila Mwendo. I'm from Kenya, and I have two questions concerning the literature review. So my first question is, while writing the literature review, and let's say, for instance, you have some information which contradicts which is already existing. I was asking, is it okay if you pass across your point at that point, or you have to wait until maybe when you are making your recommendations or in your results to say that your point contradicts what is already existing in the literature? And my second question is also when you are writing.
Can you finish that one first?
Okay, I was asking, when you are writing your literature review, you are basically reporting what other researchers have said about concerning your topic. And let's say, for instance, you have been in the field while doing your survey of whether your research is going to be practical or not, and you get some information which contradicts what is already existing. Is it okay if you pass across that point during your writing of your review, or you have to wait until you are making maybe a recommendation or conclusion of your results?
I think the purpose of literature, although we have an item on literature in a subsequent days, you need to know the purpose of literature. One, it is to know. Because you are doing research, you need to know what is available and what is not available. And then two, you need to know how to write literature in itself, because there are articles which require you to write literature. Okay? Now, when you are writing literature, you're not writing about your research, because your research is going to filter through the results and discussion. So you cannot have your results in literature. Okay? And when you are writing literature, you have to be balanced, because these are the issues present in literature published, whether they are positive or negative, and many people try to avoid the negative because they are now challenging their views. That's not correct. We still want those negative views. And maybe you might find your results might follow the negative views. And so in explaining your results, you bring that contradiction out and then give us a native view, given that your results are also saying there is nothing. Although when you did the work, you were hypothesizing that there is something. So literature has to be balanced to bring out the existing facts already published.
Okay. Thank you. And my second question is, if you are reporting what is already said by other people, at what point is it said that you have copied and yet you have cited and referenced?
Well, we can test for plagiarism. The problem then is, at the design stage, you did not test the question. The objective was not turned into a question to find out whether answers are available.
Come up again.
You should have done at the problem analysis. You get different problems. Now turn those problems into questions and assess the possibility that you can find answers for them. If, for example, your work is on kwashiorkor, you know kwashiorkor for babies?
Yeah.
And you are saying increasing egg protein in a child's diet is suffering from kwashiorkor.
improves their health. For example, I had to test and you find yes is the answer. But I mean, if you ask the lowest of communities in your area, how do I fight kwashiorkor? They know you use eggs and the other protein, they know. But for you went ahead and did research on kwashiorkor using the eggs. Eh? So you actually defeated yourself because you did not follow the rules. If literature says egg protein improves the health of a child suffering from kwashiorkor, then why did you go to do research on that?
To confirm whether that is true.
But it is a fact. It is stated as a fact.
It's a fact in literature.
Practically, even an any educated mother knows, give milk, give eggs, and then you go and do research on that. That will be wasting resources.
You will not publish.
You will not publish.
You will have no news.
Absolutely, no reader. Because they will be wondering why you did it.
But Prof, how about with situations where people redo research which have already been done, just to see whether they come up with the same results or maybe something different?
Yeah, you can only do that if literature is presenting a contradiction. So your discussion, literature review, your problem statement will be to try and point out that contradiction. And so your research will be addressing the contradiction. But where there is no contradiction, and globally, even politicians talk of protein as good for kwashiorkor and what, anybody.
And then you dare and go and
again, you go and do research.
Usually people who do research which has already been done are those who do research without proposals. They normally do what they did as research earlier on. They just keep doing the same thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Prof, I have a question from Lawrence Kankam, who is following on our YouTube channel. He says his question is in reviewing literature. He asks, am I to look for cause and effect or anything about the topic?
It's normally SWOT analysis. You know SWOT analysis? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. That's what you are screening out. And you are doing that in relation to your objective. And to re-emphasize that it is really necessary to do this research. So even within literature analysis, you are guided by your objective. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. So, Prof, there are many hands, so maybe we might have to take like 4 more because there are so many participants online and they are all have burning questions. The rest, if you are not selected, you can always post your question on Q&A and it will be responded to. So the next person we are going for is Richard Kabaka Mumali. Richard, please ask your question. Richard, please unmute and ask the question.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Yeah, yes, my concern, Prof, thank you for the presentation. My concern was actually on the logical steps for proposal writing. I'm Kawaka Richard Mumali from Uganda, that is Bustema University. During my MS research proposal development, the guide that the university had was you write the title, the background, problem statement, objective, then you do literature review, and then you stop at methodology. Previously, I had a concern where Prof said that we do IMRAD, that is results and a discussion, but he later on cleared that he just wanted to give us justification. So that was actually my concern, which has been already addressed. I submit. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
So, Prof, are you responding, or I ask? I give a chance for another person?
I thought he said it was cleared.
Okay, thank you. We go to Mfo, is it Molomi? Molomi, please unmute yourself and ask your question. And don't forget to tell us where you're from. Molomi. If Molomi is taking time, we can go to Regina, Regina. Or we go to Lucas, please.
Okay. Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lucas Abunyela. I'm from Namibia, but I'm currently doing my master's at the Indian Institute of Technology, Karapu. I'm usually doing a master's in agricultural systems and management. Okay, I actually have one question. First of all, let me thank the Prof for the informative presentation. Yeah, but one thing that I'm quite not clear on is when he mentioned something about the originality of PhD thesis and so on. Now, my question is, okay, for example, I'm doing my master's here in India, and my research topic is basically it is an Indian topic. But like when I go back to my country, I may have an interest in doing something related to what I did for my master's. How would that be in terms of the originality? Because, for example, the example that I can give here is, for example, I want to classify the different soil textures. For example, let me say I may want to use a hydrometer method, which when you go back to Namibia, there is very less literature on that topic. But from my side, when I'm in India, there are a lot of research is actually done on that, you see. But going to specific to my country, there may be no literatures on that certain topic, you see. So maybe can you just shed a bit of light on that? Thank you. Okay, maybe the second question. I just also wanted you to
let me answer this first.
Okay.
You see, let's assume science has no boundaries. It doesn't know I'm out of India, unless there's an aspect that you think might lead to different results in your country when you use a given tool. And that will be the hypothesis. If you think there is a difference between India and your country when you use that tool, that is okay. That would be the original results. But if for some reason you get the same results, then people will say, why did you waste resources after all? Is that okay?
Yeah, actually, the answer is good, but yeah, it's actually common knowledge that there is a very big difference, for example, between Namibia being a semi-arid country and so on. You know, you talk about the soil organic carbon content, you know, and then those are some of the things that influences, for example, your results. Yeah, but I understand the whole picture that you are giving me.
Yeah.
Okay, the second question is about because I did my honors degree where I also did the research, and then I'm now doing my research for the masters, but still we started with the topic. Now actually what I wanted to understand, maybe I didn't get you all, is how do you actually start crafting the whole research design if you don't have any topic that is at least guiding you?
You see, when you put up a topic, it's going to corrupt your thinking. The thinking will be to follow what the topic is saying. So the actual writing process must follow the topic, but the topic had no logical way of picking it. You see what I mean? But when you write the body, your mind is free to think, and the guide is the objective. That's why one of your colleagues said the title ended up being something else. And that is okay, because that's what the reality is. You are forcing reality away from what it is because of the title.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof.
Most welcome. So can we go to something else?
Okay, there were two hands. I don't know whether you can take this one. So we can. Two hands. One is
That's
from
fine.
Mohammed Medani.
Mohammed, please go ahead.
And then the next one, I think Mohammed is taking time to unmute. We go to Theophilus Achina. Theophilus. Okay, I think they are not responding. So let's go ahead.
I want to beam this.
Prof, let's go ahead.
Yeah, let me beam this across the screen. Please come and help. Okay, the next presentation is just to sensitize us about what we should do and what we should not. And we are calling it key issues in delivering the message. And the message here is the one you are using to write the proposal. So I can go down. Okay. This is writing in general, but later on we are going to apply the principles to proposal writing. You should not write unless you have something to write about. In other words, you should have a problem analyzed. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so you need to filter out the message and preferably to the end before you start writing. Don't write as you search for things. Well, you can search, but the process of searching is going to derail you from the original thinking before you wrote. Yes, you remember I said that you should have the target readership in mind first and write for them, capitalizing on their capacity to understand, capacity to read, capacity to operate within a given terminologies, and also looking at their interests and disinterests. Please go ahead. I can't read here. Yes. Yes, we said you can only write if you are grounded with information within a discipline. And therefore, good writers are good readers, because all the time you are learning something and applying it. So if you are going to do research, you must be ready to read and read widely. And you must have a good level of concentration so that you are able to tie up what you read towards and for the objective of research for which you are writing the proposal. And we are saying extensive reading gives you a pool of vocabulary so that you are flexible. You are not using the same words all the time. And you are current, you know, the terminologies that are topical. Okay. Yeah, next. Yes. Extensive reading permits you to acquire a variety of information freely, because most of the time we pay fees in order to get this knowledge. But here, all you need is the time to be able to read. And it will make you enter different gateways to embrace. You become more, you are able to cross-cut into different disciplines when you read. And remember, good proposals are those that embrace different areas, because the person you are going to work with is affected by a multiple of constraints. So if you write and embrace some of those constraints that are not necessarily within your area, the better you are and the better the proposal is. Next. Yes. This is very important for beginners in writing proposals. You are advised to write down everything you are thinking about and now, before some of them disappear from your mind. Therefore, don't write and edit at the same time. Am I clear on this? Don't write one sentence and cross out half of it in the form of editing. If you do that, the idea you had earlier on is going to vanish. Write down what you have on your mind first and completely, then come back and edit. It doesn't matter whether the last paragraph is going to become the first paragraph as you edit, no problem. But at least the central point in your original thinking will have been maintained. Okay? But you can edit minimally. And I can assure you, as you continue writing and writing, the issue of editing and writing will overlap, and you'll be able to do that without even thinking, and while remaining on the course of your objective. Now, when you achieve that ability to write as you edit, we call that precision writing. You can write a document within one day, and somebody will wonder whether it took you a month, because you are able to write as you edit. which is different from somebody who is a beginner in writing. If he writes while editing, he's going to get lost along the way. Next. Yes, there are some things we picked out that you have to watch out for. In scientific writing, please avoid many brackets in the text. We need to know the purpose of a bracket. They have said. But if you put a full stop, you can then start with the explanation or the example. For example, this. That becomes easier to deal with. You remember, we said a scientist has limited capacity to comprehend long things. That goes for the long sentences as well and complicated words. Avoid those. Fortunately, Microsoft Word gives you alternative words to use from which you can select, assuming you have used the word and you think it is complicated. You go to that, to the, are they called synonyms? Yes, synonyms, and select from there. A good word within a text, scientific text, is a word that means the same thing to many people. But if it is interpreted differently by many people, it's a very risky word and you should avoid it. Passive writing, we need to watch out against passive writing. For example, if you say, the vehicle was returned by Paul. If you start from the end, coming backwards, you are going to say the same thing. We should close. Okay. Yes. Okay. If you start from the end of that sentence going backwards, you'll get the same meaning, but one of the two will be shorter. Paul returned the vehicle was returned by Paul. So the shorter one is preferred. Okay. We also notice that starting a sentence with because or whereas has a potential for a long sentence. And so we need to avoid it. Many times we want to use the short form of a phrase as an acronym. And somebody said an acronym is different from an abbreviation. Is that right? Is there a difference between abbreviation and acronym? What did they say in Soroti? Abbreviation and acronym.
An acronym is like a definition of something, short form.
So we leave you that for homework, the difference between acronym and abbreviation. But the point here is if you use too many acronyms in a paragraph, that becomes complicated. And the reader will not be focused on what you are saying. So you need to avoid it. I'm told we are running out of audience. We stop here. Maybe I'll continue from here tomorrow. Is that okay? Hello? Hello?
Yes, Prof.
Yes, I've been alerted that we are losing audience very fast. Maybe we stop here.
Yes, thank you. So maybe we give a chance to Professor Rogerio to give closing remarks.
Okay. Otherwise, we thank you for today, and I hope more people will come to tomorrow.
Thank you. Prof. Rogerio, the floor is open to you.
Good afternoon, Reform Secretariat. Good afternoon, facilitators. Good afternoon, participants.
Good afternoon.
It was really a wonderful day. I was not able to be in the training all over, but from the time that I was able to attend, I noticed the engagement between the facilitators and the participants. I would like to advise the participant to take advantage of Prof. Nampala and Prof. Tenua. They've been in this process of training for proposal writing for a very long time. Myself, I've attended this around 2002, the training here in Mozambique. So I've really very experienced people on these issues. I would request you participants to leave your contact so that in future we can facilitate the contact when the World Bank needs to contact you. I wish you a really wonderful evening and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Rogerio, for the closing remarks. And our dear participants, please make sure you register for today. Remember, your certificate depends on your registration. And let's meet again tomorrow at the same time. Have a good evening.